Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan. Today I'm going to talk about a new weapon, a new strategy, a new forum that India has created to combat terrorism in the region. And this is the reference that I'm making to the recently held Conference of National Security Advisors from Central Asia and India, Ajit Doval, in Delhi. And this is an interesting development. And I think that Indian foreign policy is really stepping up its game. It's becoming more and more creative in its approach, not just to combat challenges to India's national interest, but they're also taking steps in such a way that India is rapidly emerging as a leader, as a regional leader, as a global leader in many areas of international affairs. So before I brief you on what happened at the conference and what its significance really is, can you please subscribe to Khanversations, like the video, don't forget to ring the bell icon so that when I post my next video, you get an email or an intimation that I have posted a new video. So this conference that was held in New Delhi was with India and 5 Central Asian states, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. The national security advisors of all these countries visited India except Turkmenistan, whose ambassador to India participated in this event. The stated goal and the purpose seems to be to combat terrorism, especially emanating out of Afghanistan. So, in many ways, this was a national security look for the region, Central Asia and India, on how to deal with Afghanistan under the Taliban. The Indian National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, basically set the agenda and said that we all have a common interest to combat terrorism, especially coming out of Afghanistan. And he laid out the strategy that the best thing that we are going to do is try to cut off funding to terrorism, which really is very interesting. Does this mean that the possibility of foreign aid going to Afghanistan, as long as Taliban are in charge, will be cut off? Are these countries going to oppose international aid and financial support to Afghanistan? Or are they talking about very specific targeted measures to ensure that specific groups inside Afghanistan, which are getting funding from external sources, and action will be taken against that kind of funding? At least that is not clear from the reports. But I must say that this is a fascinating conference to bring the national security advisors of Central Asia under the sort of an orbit of Indian leadership. The fact that this conference was mooted by India and hosted by India, and the agenda was also set by India, shows that nations increasingly in the Central Asian region are looking to India to lead it on matters of regional security. This could have been done under the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where Russia as well as China are participating. In both China and Russia have interests in Afghanistan and also have interest to fight extremism and separatism that could be emanating out of Afghanistan. But yet, India has taken an initiative to host it separately. In that sense, India then becomes the leader of this particular initiative, but it also ensures that India's specific interests with regards to Afghanistan remain paramount, even as India continues to act on behalf of the region. This conference really emanated out of the invitation by the Indian government to the leaders of Central Asia to visit India for the celebration of the Republic Day in January 2020. However, because of COVID, that couldn't happen. So this conference between the leaders, the Prime Minister Modi of India and the leaders of Central Asian countries, happened on a virtual platform. And then subsequently, this is the first consequence of that agreement upon made by the leaders that the national security advisors would meet and chart out a plan. I have a feeling that on the sidelines of this conference, one of the most important things that may have emerged is intelligence sharing. The key to combating terrorism, the key to act preemptively against terrorism is intelligence. And I think that not only is India in a position to provide intelligence about terrorist groups and terrorist activities inside Afghanistan, but India will also benefit from sources that are coming from Central Asia. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, the fact that the United States was able to assassinate Zawahiri while he was in Kabul, in the house of one of the leaders, one of the houses associated with the leaders of the Haqqani network, clearly has sent a message to the international community that Taliban are not fulfilling their promise that they made in Doha, that once in charge, they would ensure that Afghanistan does not play host to terrorist groups or terrorist leaders. But the fact that Ayman Zawahiri was in Kabul, he was in downtown Kabul and was killed there, clearly suggests that Taliban are not fulfilling their end of the bargain. The Taliban are essentially composed of four elements. You have the foreign policy establishment, essentially that branch of the Taliban that negotiated with the United States and the rest of the world in Doha discussions a peaceful withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan, and they are considered as a bit of a moderate group. But the defense minister and his group, Mullah Yaqub, who is basically the son of Mullah Omar, he's considered as a radical, the fighter, and he believes that he has won Afghanistan by defeating America, and therefore, as a victor, he needs to implement his values and his vision on Afghanistan, whereas people in the foreign establishment of the Taliban understand that this was a negotiated and agreed upon withdrawal, and Afghanistan does have obligations to the international community. And then the third leg of the Taliban is the Haqqani network, and I think India is most concerned about its activities, and it does have groups associated with it which are a threat to India's national security. From a perspective of Pakistan, you could argue that TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is also now housed in Afghanistan, is the fourth leg of the Taliban, which is a threat essentially to Pakistan. It would have been in Pakistan's interest to be at this conference, but unfortunately, India and the rest of the world does not see Pakistan as a solution to problems with regards to international terrorism, and they see Pakistan as part of the problem rather than part of the solution of terrorism. And so Pakistan was not at this conference in Delhi. But I must say that this is a very important initiative. This could become something like the Five Eyes initiative that the United States has with Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and England of intelligence sharing. And I have a feeling that India will continue to press its advantage as a leader and as a voice and as a spokesperson for countries which are not able to achieve their national interest on the international forum. Another issue that was discussed at this conference was the Chabahar port in Iran. And that is an interesting thing because what is its connection to terrorism? It is critical for India's connectivity to Central Asia because Pakistan does not allow a land route to Central Asia. India has found a way to get around it. So India can go, and one of India's state-owned companies runs a part of the Chabahar port, and that basically connects India not just to Iran, but also through Iran to Central Asian countries. So it's very interesting that there was a discussion about the Chabahar port and Iran's role in becoming an instrument for India's connectivity with Central Asia. So this was an important conference. We have to see what happens. Is there going to be a follow-up conference? Will it be held regularly? Will it be rotated in different capitals of Central Asia, or will it be held only in India? We'll see how that goes. And given the fact that India is also the president of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and one of the primary goals for which Shanghai Cooperation Organization was created was to fight extremism and separatism. And these are all the issues that the Central Asian countries, China and Russia, are still concerned about. So I hope you found this brief about this particular conference in Delhi useful. And if so, please subscribe to Khanversations, like the video. Don't forget to ring the bell icon. And also don't forget to tell your friends about Khanversations. And until next time, this is Muqtedar Khan, your host.